It's public knowledge now, and you've talked about the fact that John Bolton was the U.S. official who drove the effort to oust you and even personally threatened you. What did John Bolton say to you?
When this question, when I raised the question of Iraq and Libya becoming members of the organization, I received the request from Mr. Bolton to come to The Hague to have a word with me. And it was a very unfortunate experience. He came to my office and he stayed there for 15 minutes, not more, and said, I'm here to tell you that you have 24 hours to resign. This is what the instruction I got from Vice President Cheney. This is it. And I said, well, I don't see any reason for me to resign. My record is impeccable from my point of view and from the point of view of most delegations, and I don't see why I should resign. And he said, well, this is your call. You know where your kids, we know where your kids are, so you have to think serious about that. Which I said, I know, my kids know, and I am prepared to whatever comes. And he left. That was it.
Did you take that as a physical threat against your children?
Well, you can read that sentence in many ways. I read it as a threat. You can interpret it in many ways. My kids lived, two of them, in New York and one in London. So I did not expect him to mention that fact because it wasn't called for. We are discussing my position in the OPCW, not where my family was. So it made me very worried and sad, I must confess. But then again, fortunately, nothing happened, and I was voted out, and the Americans were happy with that.
So the U.S. first tries to oust you with a vote at the OPCW Executive Council, which just a year prior had voted unanimously to renew your term. They lose this vote. The Executive Council does not go along with the U.S. So then the U.S. tries to bring the vote to all the member states of the OPCW, and they also threaten to cut the OPCW's funding, which is huge because U.S. accounts for a major percentage of the OPCW's budget.
Yeah, that was common on the part of the Americans and other countries to flatten the budget. It's interesting to point out that one of the Western countries that was extremely helpful, has always been extremely helpful in terms of helping me manage the organization, helped me with the budget, in particular with the budget for developing countries, was the UK. So my relationship with the UK delegation was perfect. And I cannot forget the embarrassment of the UK ambassador when he came to me saying that he was under severe instructions to vote against me because our relationship had been extremely productive.
And that's critical because the UK goes on to become the key U.S. ally for the invasion of Iraq.
Exactly, yeah.
So the ambassador told you personally.
Ironically, after 1 year with no position in my government, the new president of Brazil then sent me as ambassador to London.
So Lula sent you to the UK, but the UK ambassador, during this attempt to oust you at the OPCW, he apologizes to you for the fact that his government is refusing to stand up to the U.S. and is going along with their attempt to oust you.
Absolutely, because we had contacts every week. Now, it was the most fluid relationship that I had among the Western countries was with the UK and France. Of course, with other countries, it was much easier. With the Chinese, the Japanese, and the Russians in particular, it was very fluid. But among the Western countries, the UK was number one.
So John Bolton threatened you personally. The U.S. government also threatens the budget of the OPCW in order to oust you. The UK ambassador apologizes to you for not standing up to the US. Was there anything else going on during this period that was suspicious?
I monitored things very closely when I was Director General, as I said. I was present everywhere in the building, everywhere in that particular building. And I learned many things during that period. And just to give a funny example to show how things can happen in such a system. When I was made Director General in '97, there was already a PrepCom, preparatory commission, launching the basis of what would become the future OPCW, with a small staff, etc. And that was the period when the building for the siege of the OPCW was being constructed. So when I became Director General, I came to The Hague. The building was almost ready. So after 1 year, I think, we moved to the main OPCW building. So I never really followed what was the way it was conceived, the way it was organized, etc. It was okay, apparently, from the point of view of the work of the organization, the way it was imagined and designed by the architect, it was okay. That said, after my third year as Director General, I started to identify some leaks that would come out of some of my discussions with staff members, some of my phone calls, and there was one particular example that made me worry about that situation. I then decided to, over the weekend, to send for someone outside the organization, someone I could trust, someone who was working in Europe, an expert in security issues. I sent for him to come to the OPCW on a Saturday. The organization was closed, of course, to come and check what was going on in my office, because there were some leaks that I apparently were going on, and I couldn't realize what was happening, in fact. And this person came to the OPCW, and the fact was that the wall behind my desk, the wall behind the desk of the Director General, was full of equipment, listening equipment. He broke the whole wall and removed everything. And there were bugs in the drawer of my desk, phone. I was shocked, I must say, but he did it immediately. It took him the whole of Saturday, half of the Sunday, and he removed everything. And nobody realized except me and my driver. On Monday, when people came to my office, they were shocked with the way the wall was a big hole.
So you were being spied on?
I was. And the interesting thing, I never said that before, is that I had then an office, a person that was the head of the security of the organization. He used to be an American. And he had a large office full of equipment. I called him the Monday after that happened. I called him to my office to check with him. How come he didn't know? He was in charge of the security of the building. How come he didn't know that there was such a bugging equipment behind me? And he wasn't there. And I was told he was traveling to Germany. And I asked him, who allowed him to go to Germany? I am his direct boss. He was my subordinate, directly subordinate to me. Nobody could say anything. So I said, as soon as he returns, tell him that I want to have a word with him. This was a Monday. You will not believe that, Aaron, but on Tuesday, as I get to the OPCW, I am told that I should go up to the head of security office. And when I got there, the office was empty. And this person disappeared and never showed up again. Never showed up again.
So this U.S. official who was the head of security at the OPCW, or he's an American citizen, he vanishes after bugs are discovered in your office. Did you ever find out who he was working for?
I don't know. I don't know. I know you have to make your own conclusions on that. The coincidence is it happened as I was finding out about the equipment. I call him on Monday. He disappears. He's not there. On Tuesday, he disappears. And all the equipment of the OPCW disappears. The office, which is a huge office, was totally empty. And I never got any explanation on the part of any delegation. And I did raise this with a number of them.